Baltimore Ravens just made too many mistakes down the stretch. Mark Andrews is somewhere kicking himself after a critical drop on the 2-point conversion. Already had a fumble in the fourth quarter. Oh, you feel for him, Mitchell. I know you had a tough one yesterday, but he's having a tough day today.
Like we talked about last week, life comes at you fast in the AFC. This Baltimore Ravens-Buffalo Bills matchup in the divisional round, it was a game everyone wanted to see. And frankly, this was the battle of the MVPs. You had Lamar Jackson going against Josh Allen. And the Ravens come out hot. They score first possession of the game, and you look at it and you said, okay, this might be a long one for the Buffalo Bills. But then the Bills answer 21-10 at half. Numerous mistakes by Lamar Jackson. They just can't get it right. Richard, from the objective mindset, like myself, when I watch the Baltimore Ravens play football, I think they're the best team in football. I think you have so much to deal with. You got Lamar Jackson. You got Derrick Henry. You got these receivers that are starting to rise up. And obviously you got the tight ends and Mark Andrews. Then you got this ferocious defense. They can't even get to the Super Bowl, let alone try to win it. They can't even get past the divisional round right now. When's that going to change? Like, what is going on with Baltimore?
Well, they got past the divisional last year, and you thought, hey, okay, that's them getting over the hump. And this year, you thought, hey, they look like the best team in football, and if they lose, it's going to be because they beat themselves. They turned the ball over. They didn't run the ball enough, something like that. And that's exactly what happened. Give the Buffalo Bills a lot of credit. They made those plays. Matt Milano was back in this game. He didn't play in the first matchup. Epinesa made big plays in the game. They did a great job of really, really caging Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson and keeping them in there. They were able to get a few plays. Derrick Henry broke through a few times. But for the most part, I think Buffalo did an outstanding job of keeping him bottled up. They didn't let a lot of explosives happen when they did. When Lamar Jackson needed it, he made it happen, though. That last drive, a huge play to Isaiah Likely and a huge scramble play, hitting him in the back of the end zone. Again, this came down to the mistakes that he made. He's again, we're sitting here comfortable in our man caves talking about this game when it was 12 degrees and they were playing in it and they couldn't feel their hands. But Lamar Jackson drops the ball. Buffalo recovers it. Critical mistake. I think the Baltimore defense played a really solid game against a really tough opponent. I think Josh Allen was going to get his. He only threw for 127 yards, ran a few in, and he was running hard, running strong. But I think for the most part, you look at that tape and you say, I think Baltimore's defense played good enough to win this game. What made it difficult was the 3 extra possessions that Buffalo's defense created with the turnovers. In the fourth quarter, you were left scratching your head at Mark Andrews because, he caught a pass. You're like, okay, Mark Andrews, what are you doing after you caught this pass? Because you could have easily just got up the field, got tackled, signaled first down, and off to the races. And I think they would have scored on that drive. But instead, he cuts back, kind of spins around, and you're left like, wait, where are you going? Wait, you're not a receiver. And of course, the Buffalo Bills punch the ball out, recover it. 43, I think it was Bernard, recovers it. Huge play in the game, and that likely was the end of the game. But somehow Baltimore's defense gets another stop, holds them to a field goal, gives their offense another chance at it. And Lamar Jackson, I think it was an 88-yard drive, after a penalty on the kickoff return, has an 88-yard touchdown drive. And the 2-point conversion, they call a rollout, sprint pass to the right. Mark Andrews to the flat, wide open. And you could see Lamar Jackson like trying his best to say, hey, I'm throwing it to you. Like, look at me. I'm giving you this one. And he touch passes it to Mark Andrews, and he just drops it. And it's not much more to it. I'm sure this one will haunt him for a really long time just because it was a routine play. The conditions are what they are. It's cold. It's been cold. I'm sure he couldn't feel his hands. I'm sure, a lot of things were going on in that game. I can't be one to criticize that because I know it's cold. But you got to catch that. You got to catch it. Isaiah Likely had just caught a touchdown pass. You got to have that one for the game. They weren't able to do it. The Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen were able to do it. Now, back to the conversation, did who outplayed who in this game? I don't know. I think it's kind of a wash. I think Lamar threw for 250, made huge plays down the stretch. Obviously, the 2 turnovers were critical, and those are strikes against him. Josh played a pretty mistake-free football game. He only threw for 127 yards, but he didn't turn the ball over. He didn't put it in harm's way. He made plays when he had to. He took what the defense gave him. Sometimes that's enough. Sometimes that's a better performance. Protecting the ball, putting your team in position to win the football game. Did Josh get a little more help from his defense? Of course. His defense made plays when they need to make plays. But Lamar Jackson gave the ball away more. So I think Buffalo fans would say Josh Allen outplayed him, and Baltimore fans would say Lamar Jackson outplayed him. All right, Josh Allen won the game. And again, this is what frustrates me with fans, because they'll be sitting there like, my quarterback's the MVP. No, my quarterback's the MVP. No, my quarterback's the MVP. Then when you say anything about their quarterback when he didn't play well, and then they're like, oh, it's a team game. Now it's all on the quarterback if they didn't win. It's like, yeah, it's a team game. It's 100% a team game. I played this team game, but they give the quarterbacks credit. Don't blame me. I didn't make the rules. I don't like it. But that's the way they call these games. So I think they'll give Josh Allen a lot of credit for this. He beat Lamar Jackson. If he goes on to beat Patrick Mahomes and potentially play in a Super Bowl, maybe win a Super Bowl, his legacy will be improved by this. Like there were so many fans like, how are you gonna say this is gonna hurt Lamar when he has 2 MVPs and he's likely gonna get a 3rd MVP? But you have to win. You have to go into playoffs and win. That matters in this league. You can't just get MVPs and then it means, hey, it doesn't matter what happens in the postseason, he's better than all of them. That's not going to be true, and nobody's going to see it that way. At least I'm not going to see it that way, and I don't think the public's going to see it that way. They're not going to say, oh, this loss doesn't hurt Lamar at all. It does. I'm sure Lamar would say it. Lamar would say, hey, this loss hurts. They got me. I got to be better. I'm going to be better. And I'm sure he's going to spend the offseason watching the tape, improving. He had an MVP season. I mean, you can't play much better than he did during the regular season. But there were 2 or 3 plays in this ball game that I'm sure he wants back. The corner route that he was throwing to Isaiah Likely, where he felt the pressure from Matt Milano, even though Derrick Henry had picked it up, he let the ball go before Isaiah Likely comes out of his corner route, and he doesn't define the angle, and it's a turnover to Taylor Rapp. The fumble, he's in the pocket, he's moving around, and I'm sure his fingers are cold and it's freezing out there, and maybe he couldn't feel his fingertips, and he drops the ball. That's a critical mistake in a critical game, and now those are the things that you can't have, and it happened. So it's going to make for an interesting conversation. It's going to make for a tough offseason for Mark Andrews, of course. Lamar played good enough. I thought he made plays down the stretch to put this game, to give it a chance. It would have been cool to see what Josh Allen would have been able to do if Lamar did tie it up. Maybe Josh drove the ball down the field and won the game on a field goal anyway. Who knows? But as we have it, we get Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes for the 4th time, and Patrick has won the first 3. So let's see how it goes.
From my perspective, being an NFC fan, you look at Lamar Jackson just dominate. I mean, you see these statistics against him against NFC teams. I mean, Lamar Jackson dominates the NFC landscape, but he can't handle his own turf, the AFC. And as remarkable as statistics are and how much he outplays opposing quarterbacks throughout the course of the season, you get to these crunch time games against a similar team, the Buffalo Bills, and you can't get over that hurdle. I mean, we talked about it last week. This was going to be the differentiator between these 2 guys, Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. I mean, we looked at them both at this mountaintop and who was going to take home the MVP. Did Josh Allen play better than Lamar Jackson? I don't know. I mean, like you said, it was probably a toss-up. But at the end of the day, this weight of this win that Josh Allen got, I mean, for me, it tips the scales in his favor, because you knock off a team like the Baltimore Ravens in snowy conditions and do it, in a manner with 2 rushing touchdowns. That's big time, Rich. And now they got to go and slay that dragon and Patrick Mahomes. What's it going to take, man? Because to me, I think the NFL world is ready to close the chapter on these Kansas City Chiefs. Maybe it's time for a new king in Josh Allen. Richard, what is the mentality going to be for this Buffalo Bills team going in next Sunday to try to slay that dragon and Patrick Mahomes?
I think they're going to see him as very mortal. I think they're going to believe they can get it done. If you watch the tape of the Houston Texans Kansas City game, you thought that Houston had a chance. They had a really good chance to win that game. A few calls here and there, a few things that left you scratching your head, a few drops, a few mistakes by the Houston Texans, and they lose that game. But if you're Josh Allen, you look at that tape and you're encouraged. There were some weaknesses shown by that defense. Joe Mixon found some running room on the ground at times. C.J. Stroud, when they were playing man coverage, and they play a lot of that, found some running room with his legs and was able to extend plays and also just pick up first downs with his legs, something Josh Allen specializes in. So I think if you're the Buffalo Bills and you're watching that tape, you're encouraged. You look at that tape and you're like, hey, these guys aren't. They're not immortal. Now they are back-to-back Super Bowl champions, championship championship pedigree. They are not going to roll over for you and let you go into Kansas City and pull out a win. That's not what's going to happen. They're going to feel as confident about this game as they've felt in any of the 3 previous matchups with the Kansas City Chiefs. I think Josh Allen is in a good mental space. I think Sean McDermott has his defense playing extremely well. Obviously, the Taylor Rapp injury is going to be something that's concerning. They got a little bit banged up in this game, so you hope some of those guys are able to return by next week. But I think Kansas City is vulnerable. I think they're vulnerable. I think they can be had.